Mute. Okay. Yeah. Welcome to Speech Talk Live, episode 31. Today is January 15th, 2016. My name is Jay Oza, and I'm the host of the show. And as always, I have Julie Finkelstein, who's also participating. And both Julie and I are mentors for the Coursera course called Introduction to Public Speaking. So we're kind of loosely connected to that course, but we, mentor students on the Coursera platform. But this is something value added that Julie and I provide to those who cannot join us. And we tend to, have a speech discussion. We discuss topics about speaking, also review speeches, and then we post it on the Coursera platform so people can view it, whenever they have chance. So even though this is not a Coursera sponsored hangout, but we are loosely connected to Coursera since we both work with Coursera as far as mentoring students concerned who want to improve their public speaking skills. So what we do on this show, as I always say, is that part of people who join us, myself, Julie, and others, when they get a chance, is to learn. I believe speaking is really a hard thing. It's the most fundamental thing we do, and it's one of the most important things we do. So learning is a key part of coming on this show and being part of this community that we have created. The second is teach. I feel at some point in the beginning, you may be thinking that you're in a learning mode, but after a while, you're going to know a lot and you're going to be in a position to teach others. And I'm always of the opinion that when you're learning, you can learn from anybody. So it's not like if you're a beginner, I can't learn from you. There may be something that you know that I can learn from. And if there's something that I can improve, then certainly I want to know about it. The third thing is coaching, because sometimes people want to give a speech and we coach them. We can provide. Now, coaching is a little difficult because that's usually one-on-one, but we can provide some feedback on coaching. Actually, yeah, so coaching is part of it, but I wouldn't say that's the major part of it. The other thing we do is we support each other because people have fear. The other thing we do is we share speeches, and this is a trusting environment where you feel safe. And as I was telling Julie before we got started, I don't try to be perfect on the show. I just need to complete the show. That's the main thing, because if you're talking for close to hour and 20 or 30 minutes, it's not going to be all pretty. Okay, we're not that good yet. So part of it is that if you're going to talk for that long, after a while, you're not going to pay attention like, oh, am I using the right word? How am I coming across? You can view that later. So we'll leave it at that. So today's show, we usually start with this quick introduction that I'm doing. Then we do a 3-minute segment. Today I'm going to use my 3-minute segment on what I'm about to do next. So I'm going to use that 3-minute for that. Then today's going to be all about discussion. We're going to have 3 topics that we're going to use to have a discussion. And a lot of these ideas have really come from the discussion forum. People are asking questions, and I then look at it, often even respond, and I think that this is something we need to go into more depth. So the 3 topics that I have selected kind of topics come from some of the questions that people are asking, some of the fears they have. And mostly the one that I've been looking at closely is the one on the thread that I started about the fear of public speaking. So the first one is conversation. Now, I recorded 2 videos that you can take a look at, and I'm not sure these are the best videos, but I just kind of use it as a way to have a discussion around it. So this is just to get you to think about conversation. And I'm kind of using some hokey metaphor here, using the doctor's metaphor. It may work for some, it may not work for others, but go with it for now and then come up with your own. The second topic, and this comes directly from a question that was posted, or a comment that was posted on the Coursera platform, where somebody had watched Barack Obama's State of the Union speech, and she pointed out, I think the person who posted, her first name was Lana, that she finds that taking this course has improved her listening skills. So it got me thinking that maybe we should find out what other skills you can improve by taking this course. So that's what that segment is all about. And I would like to find out what Julie thinks and what particular skills she wants to focus on that she's learning besides speaking. And the third topic is more about when you are developing a speech. It is a technique that I want to have a discussion around. And it has to do with this grade level measurement called Flesch-Kincaid that most of us are probably familiar with if you're taking English courses, that tells you what grade level your writing is at. And I believe that you can use the same to determine what grade level your speech is at when you're writing your speech. So we'll have a discussion around that. I'd like to find out what Julie thinks about that. So those are the topics, and I'd like Julie to do our introduction, and then we'll move into our 3-minute segment and get the show started. Okay, Julie, take it over.
Thanks, Jay. Good morning. Great to see you. Beautiful day outside. So I'm Julie. As Jay says, I'm a fellow mentor and student in the course. And I'm also working on a book that I aim to publish. I'm going to call it a production because my goal is to invite everybody to provide input. I've structured it as such. And I'll talk more about this in my 3-minute speech. So I invite you all to participate if you like. Thank you. Jay, I don't know. I'm hearing a lot of dings. Is someone trying to join? Let me check.
I have muted you. Sorry. Atul is trying to join. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you hear my intro?
Yeah. I heard your intro. Marius.
Atul is trying to join. Can you invite Atul?
Yeah. I just did.
Okay.
And Marius said that he was join us next Friday.
I don't know. I just know that I asked him to coordinate with you. I didn't want to be in the loop.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. You don't need to be a middle. Okay, so this is getting a little. That's okay. This is what happens when you're doing a show. As you can see, we're not. This is not. Hey, Atul, how you doing?
Hi, Jay. Good. I'm doing great. Hi, Julie.
Hey, Happy New Year. Good to see you. And we're just doing a quick intro, and then we're moving on to our 3-minute speech. So you can do your quick intro, and then we'll move on to our 3-minute speech segment.
Okay, great. Hey, hi guys. Hi everyone. Hi, Jay, Julie, and rest of the folks. I'm Atul. I'm a software engineer working in Bellevue. I've been doing. It's great to be back on the show for New Year. Sorry I could not attend for the last time. I was not feeling well. I'm still recovering. But yeah, that's great. Thanks, Jay.
All right, Atul. Glad to have you on the show. And let's see. So we're going to move on to our 3-minute segment. So I'm going to just take a brief pause so I can introduce the segment, okay? Hello, welcome to Speech Talk Live. And we do our 3-minute speech segment. And this is an opportunity for all of us to practice giving a speech and try to do it within 3 minutes as best as we can. Okay, so that's the purpose of this. And it's a way to practice because a lot of times we meet with people and, you know, at most you're going to have 3 minutes because after that you kind of start becoming a bore, no matter how good you are. So I'm going to use this to talk about the next phase of what I'm doing. And guys, can you mute your line because every time you make a noise, the screen keeps switching. All right, great. Thank you very much. So that's another part of the technology. So what happens is when people make a noise, this thing is so sensitive that the screen switches to them, and when you watch it, it gets kind of distracting when you're watching it later on. So anyway, just so that you know why I said that. Not trying to be rude or anything. So I'm going to talk about what I'm going to be doing next, because this is something that some of you may know if you've been watching this, is that, I have a consulting company called Tool Group, and right now I'm the only person who works, and occasionally I work with another friend of mine. And that company has primarily, what I've been doing for the last several years is to help small companies with sales. And my approach is very simple. I go in there and work with them for 3 months, and that's it. And after 3 months, I'm done. And if they want to, I can transition over to, if they want to hire new salespeople. And so during that time, I realized that that at the end, what makes it work? And it came down to something really simple. And I said, it comes down to communication, that you need to communicate at different level depending on, because there are all kinds of communication, right? You have like an elevator speech, you can have a formal presentation, you can have a conversation, etc. So there's all types of communication that you have to be good at. And if you're good at all that, that will lead to good results, in this case, generating sales. So that was about the time, I think it was 2 years ago, when I started taking this Coursera course. And I learned more about public speaking, and I have a saying now that, there is no such thing as public speaking. There are only like 3 kinds of speaking, or maybe 2. There's good speaking, there's bad speaking, and there's no speaking, right? And sometimes no speaking is better than bad speaking. So I started thinking more about that, and I took that course once, I took that course twice, I took that course 3 times, 4 times, and then I started mentoring, and now this has gone, and I said, there's something here that I'm really passionate about, and I want to pursue this further. So I'm about to finish my first draft of the book that I've been working on, which is going to go into, I guess you can call it right now, my speaker's journey. And it will show what I went through, so that if somebody wants to become I call it good to great speaker, they can adopt some of the things that I've done and maybe do some of the things that works for them. And then, so I take them from being an adequate to good. And then from good to great is work in progress, because I can't claim myself to be a great speaker yet, right? So I show them all the things that I have done, and then show them what I'm doing right now. And that's what this book is all about, the first book, because I have to get to a certain level. And the other thing, now that the book is close to completion, I want to move into helping people who have like a high stakes speeches, help them coach, because I don't want to teach, because I don't know if I have the patience to go through 10 weeks of teaching people how to speak. And my book basically tells people that there is a course out there that is excellent. That's the Coursera's Introduction to Public Speaking. And that's what I've used to get to a certain level, and I think other people can use that to get to a certain level. However, for many, that's not going to be practical. They don't have time, they don't have patience, or they just don't have willingness to do it. But every one of us at time are going to be faced with giving a high-stakes speech. And I recommend, whether you come to me or go to somebody else, you definitely need a coach, because they'll see things that you're not going to see. So that's the kind of service that I want to move into, helping people if they have a high-stakes speech. And meanwhile, I'll be using my book and create courses, something that I'm collaborating with Julie now on, coming up with a course on how to overcome your fear of speaking. And then I'll take some of the content from my book and turn that into a course. So there are a lot of different things that I want to move towards. So this is like a transition that I'm making in my career, because with the other thing that I was doing, I was tied to one client for 3 months. And a lot of the stuff that I was doing was exciting, but it became kind of repetitious. So what I want to do now is saying, okay, I broke it down to its key parts, and this is the parts that you need, and then people can decide how they want to use it in their particular situation, whether it's in a sales setting, whether it's at work, whether it's in relationship, etc. So that's where I'm now moving towards, and I just wanted to kind of share that, and maybe you can give me some feedback. Okay, thank you. Julie.
Okay, great, thanks. So now it's 10:16. So Jay, I may go over, but in order to honor the spirit of the impromptu speech, can you kind of give me a 3-minute warning? But like raise your finger, say 3 or something. So thank you. Okay, good. So now it's 10:17. So we start at 10:17. So my speech today is embedded. A takeoff from the introduction is I'm in the process of rolling out a book, and it is still in transition. I'm in the experimental phase of the life cycle. So my life cycle is envisioning, experimentation, proof of concept and pilot, and scaling it to the production level and maintenance. So the idea of the book is that I don't want to just write a book, but I want to produce a communal effort and through that publish a book. It's in the area of consciousness training and physical health. I'm titling the book called 10 Stretches for Love and Life. At least that's the title today. I have learned 10 stretches and the meditation technique from a very powerful man. His name is Everett Ogawa, and his training involves martial arts, Zen, and the Western tradition of Ida Rolf and Moshe Feldenkrais. And these 10 stretches are very powerful. It opens up the body and the mind to, first of all, to be healthy, because you can't do anything without being healthy. Then to be happy, because once your body is healthy, you can be happier. And in that phase between healthy and happy, you can accumulate power to manifest your desires, and then eventually up to enlightenment. So these 10 simple stretches are very easy to do. My goal in this book is to share the 10 stretches and explain why they're so good for the body and so good for the mind. And each stretch has a theme. So for example, the first stretch is forward bend. And I invite people to think about surrendering, because our head is below our bellies and our heart. And the physical health benefits are there, which I'll write about. But also I invite people to bring it into this mental, emotional, and spiritual practices. And so that's the experimentation. I'm inviting questions for this book, any kind of art where you think that relates to the theme, an essay or a poem that you like, even if it's a public poem, because I can ask for permission to print. And I'm going to put this all in Google Community, and I'll publish a book on Amazon. Right now I'm thinking of it as an ebook. So my goal is to do this project for free, and then out of this experimentation phase, I'll find ways to practice that can scale into a professional practice. So that's my invitation to you, and thank you. I'm good. So again, just to summarize, thank you, Jay, is that I'm writing this book. I'm experimenting with collaboration and production using the Google community as a source and to make it widely accessible in Amazon. And in addition, I hope that these will provide me insights with taking this from a open source, publicly available, into a professional service where it can be monetized. But I want to invite you to come and play and have fun and empower your lives. Thank you.
Yeah, Julie, that was great. Yeah, that's a great idea. The one thing I'll add to what you just said is that this is it's open to you, that as you're working on the book, and sometimes this is what I've been doing, so I'm just telling you this. I think I found it very useful. If you have a particular topic that you want to get some feedback from people, then just record a short speech like I've been doing, and then I've been putting it on here as a part of the discussion topic. So that way, just doing that alone, just getting other people's input kind of helps you start thinking about it and develop it even more. So that's open to you. I mean, maybe unless you're looking for people, you can try it here, or you can try it on a special a hangout that you can create for people who are interested in this topic and know a lot about it. So that's something that I've been doing, and part of the topics that we're doing today is related to that, especially the one about, I think all three topics actually could be used in the book. So I just wanted to let you know that this is a great way to write a book using a show like this, or creating a separate show on a specific, so you can get to discuss it with people and then incorporate that into a book. Atul?
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. Inputs from Jay. Uh, I just want to thank Julie for coming up with this book and this idea of publishing to Amazon first and then getting feedback from the people. And that's I think a great way to get into it. And all the best for Julie for the book. Yeah, for the stretches. I'm looking forward for it.
Oh, okay. Is that it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay, Atul. Thanks a lot. So, yeah. So now that the race is on, I have to beat Julie. But I mean, I'm pretty close, but you never know. When you get closer, that's when it gets even farther out. So we'll see. I've been saying I've been close now for a year.
You know the proverbial program mantra is I'm 90% done.
Is that 10% is why you get paid?
Yes.
90% of the code you can get it from somewhere else.
I mean, I hate it when someone says that to me. I'm 90% done. I just drill into them. So.
Right. Okay, so let's take a brief pause, and then we'll start the next segment. Okay. Atul, can you mute your line?
Jay, once a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
So my 3 minutes speech is remaining, right?
Oh, you still have it? Okay, I thought that was your speech. Okay.
Oh, no. I wanted to continue. I mean.
Oh, okay. Because I asked you, is that it? And you said, yeah, that's it. So I thought that was your 3-minute speech.
No. I thought you will say that your 3 minutes starts now.
Oh, okay. No. I thought that maybe you weren't prepared or something. So sorry about that, because I didn't want to, disrespect you and say, hey, Atul, you didn't prepare.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So Atul, why don't you go and give your 3-minute speech, and then we'll get to segment 1. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. So. So this is the speech I had actually prepared for your last show. This is about the New Year resolution which I have for 2016. As I discussed with you on this show about how the year went 2015 in I think the last episode of 2015. So this is like a follow-up for this new year. So what are my goals for this new year? So one thing about the goals, whatever I have read looks like goals should be measurable. That's how you will, you will know that you have attained those goals. So I'll start with my first goal this year. The goal is like for first and foremost like staying fit and being healthy. And for this, what are the things I'm planning to do is I'll continue my hiking in summers, which helped me a lot in terms of losing weight and just staying fit. And this year's goal is basically adding the extra one as going to gym at least 3 days a week. That's my plan for the entire year. And then the way I'm going to measure is basically how much pounds I lost, and then how I physically fit I feel after all these things. So that would be my criteria, how I did on this goal. The next goal I have is definitely improving on my communication skills and public speaking skills. And the way I'll do this is by first I have a plan to take the course on Coursera, and definitely I'll be on this show the entire year. That's another way. And then definitely reading and practicing related to public speaking and communication skill, how I can be more effective. And how I'm going to measure is basically I'll ask you guys for the feedback, how I've been before and how I've been now, and I'll take it from there. And definitely, I'll also check with my colleagues in office and people around me just to see if there is any improvement. But basically, I'll be looking forward for you guys to give me some kind of feedback how I've been doing on that goal. The third goal is about my technical skills, improving them. So for this course, what I have planning to do is I'm going to take few courses on Udemy, also doing some programming, taking up uh, planning for. I have also I'm planning to take up some PMP related courses, just project management point of view, just to see how probably going on the other side, because both technical and manager skills, I want to get both of this year a bit. And then the third and final goal I have is like doing some kind of meditation on spirituality. So my goal, so what we are doing this as a part of just the other show which Julie is having, where I know we just come and do a reading of book, and as a part of that we do a 5 minutes meditation. So the plan is to have to do this meditation for at least 3 days or 4 days a week. Spend some time and basically doing more like mindful meditation and see how it affects. I don't know how I'm going to measure, but hopefully I should. I don't know yet, but I'll see how I can measure that. Or it would be just like soft thing that will go and developing over the years maybe. Yes, that's all my goals for 2016. And yep, that's my speech too. Thank you.
Oh, that was excellent. That was excellent. So you have like actually a much broader goal than just because the show we did last week was mostly focusing on the public speaking goal. So this is complete goals, like everything. It includes being fit, health, communication, technical, and also spiritual. So that was fairly comprehensive.
Thank you.
So so now it's on the record, okay?
Yes, definitely. That's I'm going to see after like end of the year how it goes.
Let me ask you a question, because one of the things you said ask for the feedback. So let me just ask you up front, so that way I know exactly. When it comes to communication skills, is it again work related or everything, non-work related, work related? And if it's work related, what kind of speeches are you currently giving, and what kind of speeches you'd like to give? Because I think that's kind of important to know.
Yeah. Right. That's a great question. So first, I mean, this goal was encompassing both technical as well as, I mean, work related as well as personal. I mean, and then so currently what I do at my work is like, we just have normal, like for example, demo presentations to my group, then typical Scrum meetings, typical the day follows is not like big speeches, but still I have like kind of demos that we give every fortnightly to the broad audience, like around people of 60, 70 people in our entire org. And so my plan is to actually, give it kind of a like storytelling mode way, rather than, engaging more audience into the demo instead of just saying it or just demoing as a part of demoing, like instead of that. So that's one of the thing, and definitely the other parts which I want to tell you is the the elevator speech talk, or the three segments that we are having today are great, basically, where small talk, but with more meaningful discussion, how to go up level next instead of just hi and hello. So those kind of things as well. So
right. Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Oh.
Yes.
So one thing I suggest is that this is part of your practice is you just mentioned a word called Scrum.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is something that I do. as you can see, I've been recording a lot of videos,
Mm-hmm.
and since you're in the technical area, there are a lot of jargons out there, right? There are a lot of things that are going on at work, what you're doing. I
Mm-hmm.
would take each of those topic, like let's say something like Agile, right? Agile,
Mm-hmm.
you guys are using
Yeah.
Agile, and just do a talk on Agile and try to explain it to somebody who doesn't know Agile.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So,
Oh.
so identify all the different technical concepts that are being used at work. And this
Mm.
is not something you have to give it to people at work. This is something for your own practice. So
Okay.
you should come up with a list of technical concepts that you want to, because this will be directly impactful at what you're doing at work. That these are the topics that are coming up. It could be like if somebody asked you, like, give me what's the difference between Python and Java? Which is better? That's it. Like, ask yourself a question
Yes.
and then do a speech on that, like you're explaining it to somebody. And
Oh,
that way you become very good at, so if you ever given an ask for an impromptu, you'll know exactly how to answer that because you will already have done it.
perfect. Okay, great. Great.
Okay. So I just wanted to point that out because that's what I do. Julie, do you have any comments for Atul as he's especially related to his speaking public speaking skills?
I think that what Jay says really underscores that there's two audiences, and you might as well get used to the technical audience and the lay audience. And I would invite you that Jay's idea is great. That when you take a concept, speak it as if though you're speaking to a technical audience, and then speak it as if you're speaking to a lay audience. Because as you go up the path, whether you want to be a technical techie or whether you want to be on the managerial path, your circle of influence, as it gets bigger and bigger, it becomes less and less technical. So you might as well jump the gun and practice into your target audience of lay audience. And then also it gives you accessibility to senior managers because usually they're not as technical. So if you can bridge the technical vocabulary, concepts, and tools into a lay world, you're also creating a bridge for the access to teaching, educating, your senior management. So I invite you to do that.
That's great. Yeah, I completely agree with what Julie says. And I know this is getting a little longer, but there's one question that you always have to ask. You heard of this concept called ultimate question? That's something that's there was a book written called The Ultimate Question. It's for customers, right? That there's only one question that matters. That is, would you recommend our company or our product to somebody else, right? That's the ultimate question. And there are Harvard professors who wrote a book on that called The Ultimate Question. And I've come up with something, and you've got to use that ultimate question. Anything you do, there's always that ultimate question. So I have an ultimate question when it comes to public speaking, that when you're speaking to somebody, the question is, what is the audience going to say, or the person you're speaking to? You are smart, or you made them smart? That's the ultimate question. And the right answer is you made them smart. So that's the ultimate question. Anytime you give a speech of any sort, that's the ultimate question. At least that's what I'm using. That if the person says, "Oh, Atul, you're so smart," then you lost.
Oh, okay.
If the person says, "Atul, you really made me think," or "You made me smart," I didn't know that, then you won.
Oh, okay, great. That's great input. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate question to keep in mind whenever you open your mouth.
Okay,
So I gotta now watch it.
Awesome.
All right, so let's take a pause and get to the next segment. And if you have to leave, just let us know, okay? Okay, can you mute your line? So okay. Welcome to Speech Talk Live. My name is Jay Oza, and this is segment 1. And in segment 1, what I have decided to do was to kind of talk about having a conversation, because we always talk about, like, oh, I want to give a great speech, and to be honest with you, I don't really give a lot of public speeches. Okay, public speeches are kind of rare for me. I tend to do a lot of recording on YouTube and participating in the show, but I don't go out and give a lot of formal speeches. But that doesn't mean that you still can't improve your speaking skills, right? So that's why the word public is kind of I don't like to use that, because a lot of people don't give a lot of public speeches. we speak a lot, but we don't give public speeches. And every time you're speaking, there is an opportunity to take the conversation, to take something to the next level. And most of the time, we are always engaging in conversation. So a lot of people have fear about, like, how do I get into a conversation? Believe it or not, people have a lot of fear. Even, I mean, let's face it, I have fear sometimes, like, hey, I want to talk to that person. What do I say? Then what do I say after that person says something? How do I even engage in a conversation? So a lot of this question, the reason I picked this topic was because lately I've been responding to questions on the Coursera platform, and people really have fear. And one person pointed out, I think the last name was Garcia, and I don't know whether this person is a male or female. Let's, for the argument's sake, say it's a male. And he likes to recite poems, but the person has so much fear that as soon as that person starts talking, physically he just can't do it, you know. Something happens and he just can't get, it turns red or something like that. There's a physical transformation that's taking place. So this person has some unique things that that person has to work on. But then it occurred, and the person also said that he has difficulty having a conversation. So it got me thinking, and see if I can, if there's anything I can offer from what I'm doing. So I started thinking about it, and I came up with this kind of, like, I call it the hokey metaphor, like what a doctor does. And it may work, it may not work, I don't know. But let's go with it for now, okay? So what I say is that when you go see a doctor, typically what a doctor does is you engage in a, you know, pleasantry, like, oh, hi, Jay, nice to meet you, thank you. And, you know, you do that for maybe a few seconds. And then there's that observation phase where the doctor looks at you and saying, oh, you don't look too well. Okay. Yes, that's why I'm here, right? And then say, well, let me see. Okay, and they'll pull out a stethoscope and go tick, 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 tick. Take a deep breath, etc. Now, I'm not saying that's what you will do for a conversation, but I'm just using this metaphor. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of hokey, but we'll get you to tell me how hokey this is. And then there's a diagnose phase, and then the last phase, I call it surgery, which Julie thought was too scary, so I've changed it and call it the follow-up, okay? So that's the metaphor, and I just put that into a practical use recently when I was going to school, and I explained that in the video, so I'm not going to go into it in detail here. But it was sort of like you start with the pleasantry, and then you make like an observation, like what's contextual. Is there, weather is obviously one thing because everybody can relate to it. Like Julie started out the show saying, oh, it's a nice day today. That's great. Now, I mean, obviously Julie was introducing herself, but if she had said it's a nice day today, then I'd say to Julie, yeah, it is a nice day. And then Julie can then go and saying, you know, after this show, I'm going to go out for a walk. Now, at that point, I can say, yeah, today is a nice day for a walk. And then Julie could Julie could take it to the next level and say, you know, I just really enjoy walking at this park because it gives me an opportunity to really reflect on the day, et cetera, et cetera. It gives me to think and makes me relax. So now she's sharing more and more information about her. That means she's kind of drawing me into that. So now it's up to me to start giving her more information, and then she can then say, okay, now this person has given me more information. What do I do with it, you know? And at some point, Julie may say, Jay, you know, if you're not too busy, you may want to join me. And who knows, from there, we can become buddies, speech buddies, etc. We can do business together. Maybe I can attend her meditation class. So with conversation, it starts directly from pleasantries, which we all engage in, but then we don't do anything after that. So that's why I created this metaphor. And then I said, that's with somebody you don't know. But what if you know somebody, something? So I created this example where I talk about like meeting Priyanka Chopra. And I think Atul knows who she is. I think Julie now knows who she is. So I said, okay, if I, let's say hypothetically, if I was going to meet with this famous actress, she's both Bollywood and American actress now, right? And she's like a global superstar. So I said, well, I went to internet and I did some research and I found out that she likes these two movies. And then how I can take that initial meeting from pleasantries to bringing the topic like, hey, we have these two movies in common, and then I can get down to even more granularity about a particular scene. So now it's for her to share more information, and that's how you start moving your conversation deeper and deeper, making it more meaningful, and you start connecting with people. And unless you're good at doing that, you can't get to that final step, whether you have to decide whether this is ever going to turn into a friendship, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a potential business or whatever. So this was sort of like my way of trying to help people out who are kind of struggling, like, I'd like to meet people, but I just don't know how to do it. So I'd like you guys to tell me, like, what do you think of this, and what do you do when you want to get into a conversation? Julie?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. So first of all, I like the idea of going deeper and deeper into the relationship or the exchange. And as I mentioned to you, that the surgery might not be, I just don't want to, like, if someone's doing surgery and my heart is open, I don't want it to be left there. So I actually just added a step, because I think surgery is very important, is that closing up. So in a sense, and I use the metaphor of dating, that there's major milestones and smaller goals. So in dating, first you go to first base, then you go to second base, and then you go to fourth base, and then so that's the whole thing. And at the end of the dating, there is a closure point for that milestone. And that is really another point where there's continuation or termination. So if you look at the flow chart, and at that milestone, the termination could be, I don't want to, it was fun dating, but then that's it. Or you could say, well, really, I like to get to know you better. So the next major milestone could be, well, let's live together, or let's spend weekends together. So when you look at it, then there are major milestones, and each one has a closure or continuation or termination point. And then within each of the milestones, each task also has a closure and continuation point. You can use that method of deepening relationships in dating, but also in client relationships. Like when I had my own company, I always prepare my client for problems, because to me, the next level of intimacy also reveals the next level of challenge. So I always told my client, when we go to the next step, I will not make no mistakes, but you can be assured that I'm there to fix the mistake. So that's my way of having a kind of closure at a certain milestone, and then bringing the opening up the next step of relationship. So I hope I answer your. I hope I make comments to your.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good metaphor, dating metaphor. I've seen that people use that occasionally, and that's definitely a workable. Whatever works, right? So, Julie, let me ask you this question: have you met somebody recently, somebody that you didn't know, and can you talk about it if there's something that comes to your mind? How you started your conversation and how far were you able to take it? Does anything come to your mind? Or if not, I'll go to Atul and then you can come back later.
I'll just say quickly that I always tell you that I think this is one of the areas that you have a really great talent and really great at teaching. And I'm actually not really good at small talk. So yeah, I actually, since we've done these episodes, I've started engaging people more by saying something neutral. Like, this was a good, I recently saw a movie, and at the end of the movie, I say it was a good movie, and she liked it, and we liked it, and then we ended the conversation. But it was definitely an improvement for me, because I don't enjoy it, and I don't like doing it, but now I have a way to practice it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, keep practicing it, and it's like, and again, the other thing I'll say is that there are lots and lots of opportunities, and especially with Atul, and I'll let him talk. I know I'm taking up too much that at work there is always a lot of opportunity to talk, and sometimes you can go out after work and just have a coffee or something and bring up a topic and then share something. But it's something that you can share about anything. You can share about your personal experience, something. I mean, you don't want to complain. Okay, so don't complain. But something that you found interesting and saying, I learned something interesting today. I always start out by doing that. I learned something interesting today. Okay, Atul, I'm going to take up too much of your time, so I'll let you talk now. What do you think of this? What metaphor do you use when you want to have a conversation? And have you recently had any kind of conversation with people, and how far were you able to take it from pleasantries to, I don't know, maybe you got married or something, I don't know. How far were you able to take it?
So, first of all, one typical thing which I do is like, let's say on a Monday, I will basically, whenever you go for a coffee or something, you'll just basically start, how was the weekend? And then from there is like, if there is something common event there that they went and you guys went or somebody else went, then basically start elaborating on that event. That's how my tendency is to go about like one level deeper on just after saying hi, hello. The other thing what I noticed is then some common event that generally goes, let's say Super Bowl that is going on, or something like that, and then from there, oh, this guy played very well and they lost because of this, and start discussing on sports. And typically for a Friday is with the reverse way, like what's the weekend plan, or it depends on the movie that is released, and if there is a Bollywood movie, then generally talking about, oh, the reviews are not nice, yes, and then from there, oh, this is doing a great fantastic job and all those, and then this scene and that scene a little bit more on the movie, though. That's how general my way of going just from saying hi pleasantries to a little bit more adding stuff to it. About the one question you had about did I had a chance with any stranger and how far I was able to go for it. Not that recently, but I remember doing it. I have one person in my team who, at the end of the day, what he will do, he will basically just go and, just stand by somebody's desk and just bring out some topic. He brings out any topic. For example, there is my teammate who she's adopted, and he just went there and Atul, she's adopted, and then the topic came, then she started saying, oh yes, and this I've been adopted, and then I've been she started about right from how she met her biological father after 33 years and all those stuff. So he just brought one sentence, and the other person was like telling like entire story of like most of the things. So it's so I thought like probably something to learn from him. So but I like I mean he has his own way of bringing some topic and getting some more information. At the end of the day, generally he will do it when there are less people. So, and he gets into a personal talk rather than because all these things cannot be in the daytime where there are a lot of people, and people are reluctant to talk about some things which are personal in the daytime. So that's his strategy, and I like that strategy a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's that's good. I like what you just said in the beginning, like some of the conversation you get into in the morning and then at the end of the week. I think that's a good approach. And these are the people that you probably know. I think these are the people that you're engaging. So when you know people, that gives you a little bit of an advantage. Means you can do some research ahead of time. So let's say I'm into sports like football, right? And this is the thing that I keep telling people, that the video that I did on Priyanka Chopra is that you have to put in some effort if you want to be a good conversationalist. Otherwise, you can't. It's everything in life. It's you got to plan to have a good conversation, and people really will appreciate that you took time out and said something that they didn't even know. And the reason why I think this is so important, Atul and Julie, is that there's a study done, and I think I read this in Harvard Business Review, that people will, there are two things, right? Warmth and competence, right? Sometimes when we hire people, we want competence, but they found that unless you show warmth, they will not see your competence. That if you lead with competence, then people will not like you that much. But if you lead with warmth, then they may overlook if you're not like a total klutz, but if you're, let's say, not highly competent, they'll overlook that because of the warmth. So you'd never want to miss out on the warmth part. And part of that is what Julie was saying, that small talk, like some people are not good at small talk, and you really do need to be good at small talk, because that's how people feel warm towards you, because there's nothing, you're not challenging them in any way. And the other thing I'll point out is that when you're having a conversation, you got to be careful. And I'm writing this, and this is going to come up in my next book, not in this book that I'm working on. And I call it conversation tango. And tango is like the dance, right, where the guy is in control and the woman just kind of follows the guy, right? But you are controlling exactly how you're moving the conversation, never to the point where you're like just going to push that woman on the floor or something like that, right? The woman always is following you. And you make it easy, and you can really have a nice conversation tango and go all around the room on different topics, and then the person feel like, wow. And the scene that I always use is the one from that movie. I think it's called, it's the one with, what's his actor's name? The guy who played Michael Corleone. I forgot his name.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino, right. You remember that movie? I don't know if it's called The Scent of a Woman, where he's blind. Where he's blind, right? And he's at this ballroom, and there's this woman, a young woman sitting by herself, and then he says, "Hey, do you want to tango?" And he shows her how to tango, and he's explaining it to her. Watch that scene. That's exactly what a conversation should feel like, okay? If people ask you, what should a conversation feel like? You show them that scene of Al Pacino in that movie is taking this young woman and doing a tango with her. And that's what a conversation should really look like. So, Julie, any closing thoughts?
Great discussion. Thank you.
Atul, any closing thoughts?
No, that's great discussion. I have seen that scene many times, and this is one of my favorite scene as well.
Yeah, isn't that a great scene? The way
he awesome, man. I mean, his eyes are, he's blind, and the way he dances with his eyes, the confidence which he shows, like the blind person doing a tango, and there is the other person, the young guy who is beside him and he's watching him, and he's, and this guy is like, oh, I can do it like 10,000 times better than you, although I'm blind, and all those things. Amazing scene. I like that.
Right. So next time when you are meeting somebody at an event, instead of doing a tango, do a conversation tango.
Agreed.
All right, so that's a new thing, conversation tango. We have to show how that would work, You start a conversation, you take it to anyway. Okay, so we'll close this out, and I'll take a brief pause, and we'll start the next segment. Okay, welcome to Speech Talk Live. My name is Jay Yoza, and we're moving to segment number 2. And in this segment, we are going to focus a little deeper into this course that Julie and I mentor, and the one that Atul is hoping to finish soon, called the Introduction to Public Speaking. And there was somebody posted, I think the woman's name was Lana, on the Coursera platform, the discussion forum. And she had posted saying that taking this course has helped her improve her listening skills. And this was after she had watched the President Obama's State of the Union. So it got me thinking, and I said, that's interesting. She's right. And I said, the course, we all think like we're going to take it to improve our public speaking skills. But then I said, wait a second, there are other skills that you're also improving while you're trying to working on improving your public speaking skills. So, and what are they? And I made a video that goes into it more detail, and I'll just list them, and then I want to find out which particular skill that you think you'll improve, or you already think you have improved upon from taking this course. So I think listening skill is definitely one of them, and I always think that if you want to become a good speaker, you also have to become a good listener. They go together. And one of the things you always hear people say about Bill Clinton is that he's one of the great listeners. So they do go together. Because if you're not listening, then you're just speaking to people. It's not a dialogue. The other skill is giving feedback, because one of the things we do in this course is we give feedback, we do reviews, and there's a rubric that's been created. So that kind of gets you started, but then as you take this course again and again, you will tend to come up with your own rubric on how to give proper feedback, and that's what we do on this show. We follow that rubric, but then we also we have our own method of giving feedback, what's important and what works. The third skill is receiving feedback, because that's another thing. See, everybody likes to give feedback, but you also have to be good at receiving feedback, because if you're not good at receiving it, then how are you going to improve? So you got to have the right type of mindset on how you want to receive your feedback, and that's also a very important skill that a lot of people don't have, that this course helps you develop. The other skill is thinking. When you're speaking, you're thinking, right? When you're developing a speech, you got to have all that in your head, and you're basically exerting power of your mind when you're speaking to somebody, as I'm kind of doing right now. I got all these items, and I'm basically thinking about it. I have to give a lot of thought to this. So taking this course will help you become a better thinker, I believe. And you can tell me whether that's true or not. The other one is organizing. So this is something that we all, you maybe ask, like, hey, what do you think about this topic? Rather than ramble on, I think this course, by working on more than one impromptu speeches or learning the techniques of it, you will learn quickly to organize your thought. And I'll give you an example. So just recently, a situation came up where it was a school situation. I'm not going to go into the detail of it. It's outside the scope of this particular segment. And I had to organize my thought quickly, and I just keyed in on one word. This is something that I'm also working on, like this method, I call it the lean speech method. And the word that I keyed in on was fairness. And from that, I just focused on that one word, fairness. And I believe that if I had not taken this course, I would not have learned that. I would have given too many things, and people would have essentially gotten lost. But it allowed me to organize my whole message around that one word, fairness. The other thing is that this course will help you develop confidence. I mean, you can see it, that Julie, I, and Atul are all on this show. A lot of people are afraid to do this. They just can't. And unless you take the course, and you'll start developing your confidence, and you want to give speeches and even record speeches. And the last one I'll add is, and there may be others that I'd like to find out, but these are the ones I've come up with, is taking risks. And this is a skill, by the way. When you can speak well, when you have the confidence of speaking, as people who come on the show do, you're likely to take risks. That means that if you're at a party, if you're at an event, you're not going to be intimidated to speak to people. You're going to be prepared, and you're going to go and have a conversation, and that could lead to something. So you will be more willing to take risks, because taking this course, you will develop that. That's something you get, and you should think about that. So these are things that I've come up with, and I'd like to find out what Julie, what do you think? What are the skills that you think you have developed, and are there any that you think I have missed?
Jay, I think everything you say is true. I'm going to that it helps you develop all those skills. I like to take it from a little different perspective, and I say that public speaking, especially engaging in weekly process with you, such as Speech Talk Live, helps me to be more successful at what's important to me. In the sense that, because public speaking is all about putting yourself out there, and because you have to speak on something, it helps me. I'll just talk about my own personal experiences. It helped me to figure out what's important to me, and it helped me to stay with that. By staying with what's important to me, I do have more curiosity, and I end up looking like I'm taking risky behavior, but actually I'm just learning more about the topics that are important to me, and then I can act on it. In our practices weekly, Dan Coyle in the Talent Code talks about strategically practicing what we want to be and the gaps in there. And by coming every week and practicing public speaking, we find the gaps and we can practice it where the gaps are. So for example, I noticed that you're very strong at opening up conversations. That's an area that I'm not so strong on, so I can practice that. And then finally, because this is a community and we practice together, even in the discussion forums, Napoleon Hill, who has written a book as well about being successful and wealthy and prosperous, came up with the idea with a mastermind group, which you get 4 people together and you support each other. And I think this Speech Talk Live program, as well as the discussion forums and signing up for the class, it's a kind of like a virtual mastermind group where we really support each other and we have an opportunity to hone each other's skills. As you know, I'm working on experimental book collaboration production, and I think this public speaking, in addition with the Speech Talk Live program, really helped me gestate that idea, coming up with forming the seed of that idea, and now you're inviting me to work in this environment, and to me that's like gestation and also blossoming. In the plant life cycle, you have the seed, then you gestate the seed underground, you don't see it, and then it blossoms. We don't know how long the gestation cycle is, but it's happening. So just one more thing is, in the early 70s, this IBM person wrote this wonderful book called The Mythical Man Month. I'm sure you're aware of that, and the whole idea is there's an organic process going on, and we can't control the time, but there's an organic cycle. And I think by coming all the time, working on public speaking, we are tapping into that natural force of growing things. And that's how come we're successful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the book you mentioned is written by Brooks, right? The Mythical Man. It's a great book. I mean, it's a short book. I remember when I first read it, I just was like, wow. This is the way the book should be written, because typically at that time all the books used to be so thick and unreadable, and then I came across this book, Mythical Man Month, and I was like, wait a second, I understand this book, this can't be real. That's how well that book was written. It was almost like reading that book, Strunk and White, right? That little book, I don't know, the thin book, I guess that's what they call it. Those are excellent points you just made. The one thing I will also add, I think I've kind of left out, like I said, there are a lot of skills, and I like the thing what you said is that the mastermind concept from Napoleon Hill. I don't know if the book was called Think and Grow Rich. That's where he mentioned that or not, because I know he's written several books, and I think he did a lot of research and talking to. I think from what I understand is that Andrew Carnegie gave him names of all the people to talk to, and from his conversation with those people, he assembled that into this book. I think what happened was initially the book was titled something else, and then he changed it. So that's another thing to learn, that sometimes by changing the title can make a tremendous difference. And I believe for a long time that was one of the most popular books ever after Bible and Dale Carnegie's book. So anyway, the other thing I'm going to point out is that this is something that I've noticed with myself, is practicing. That this course, like I said, one of the things is risk taking, and by doing the show, this is kind of risk. Well, now it's not a risk because we've done so many, but when you start it, it is a risk taking endeavor. And every time you come on, you're taking some risk because you're putting yourself out there. And after a while, you don't even notice it. So that's when you know that it's working. But the other thing that I've started doing a lot lately is practicing that if I have something that I'm thinking about, then I want to put it out there. Is it perfect? No, but at least I'm putting it out there. And if people like it, fine. If they don't like it, then help me make it better. That's my motto, right? That if you don't like it and you can't help me make it better, then why am I listening to you? You can criticize it. That's your prerogative. So you also have to change your mindset, because like Julie said, that when you're speaking, you're kind of putting yourself out there. And when you're putting yourself out there, you are going to be criticized. People are going to criticize it for a number of reasons. One is that they're jealous of you. They're not doing it. They don't want to do it. And it's much easier to criticize than to help do it themselves or even help you make it better. So you have to be very careful that once you start speaking, you also have to learn how to change the outlook on life itself, because people who are speaking are going to put themselves, otherwise why are you speaking if you're not going to take that risk and put yourself out there? But at the same time, you got to be able to handle all the criticism or you're going to face, and you can't worry about that because you are going to get that. That's how it goes. So there are a lot of things that this course, I think, that doesn't directly cover, that we're kind of covering indirectly because we have some experience. And I think it's like the most fundamental course. Other courses will not do that. This course will bring out a lot of other things in you that other courses simply cannot, because it's just not the same thing. So any closing thoughts, Julie, before we move on to our next segment?
Yes, I think Napoleon Hill, Daniel Coyle, you and I are all saying is the rubber doesn't hit the road until you start practicing. So thank you.
Yeah, so that's the key takeaway, that take risks and increase in becoming a public speaker is a tremendous skill, but also pay attention to that there are a lot of other skills here that you're also developing, and they're also just as important. And sometimes, most of us are not going to be giving public speeches, but developing these other skills are just as vitally important, like listening, feedback, etc. So take a look at this segment and see what you think. And if you have any comments, let us know, because I think there are more other skills here that we haven't included, but these are the main ones that we could come up with for this segment. Okay, so at this point, we'll take a pause and start our final segment. Okay, welcome to Speech Talk Live, episode 31. My name is Jay Oza. And in this segment number 3, I am going to talk about a technique that we use when it comes to writing. And it's the readability score tool that's commonly used, called the Flesch-Kincaid readability score, that tells you the grade level that your writing is at. So that way, you know how other people will be able to understand it, what level it is at. And one of the things that I've discovered is that most newspapers, major newspapers, these are like New York Times and Wall Street Journal, are typically written at around 8th or 9th grade level. I may be wrong, off by 1 or 2 here, but it's no more than 9 or 10, okay? But I think it could be even lower. It's like 9th grade level. And I believe USA Today is written at a 7th grade level, 7th or 8th grade level. So it kind of gives you an idea that these newspapers are written for one purpose, so that you understand what somebody's writing. These are not like reading abstract from some journal of medicine or something like that. Those are simply unreadable. So these are written so that anybody can understand it. Most people have a high school education, and then they go below that, because high school education means that's 12th grade, but they go even below that to 7th or 8th grade level. So they know for sure that most people, even though they finished high school, maybe they flunked their English course, but they know that most people have at least passed 7th or 8th grade English level course, so they can read. So what I've said was like, hey, if this tool is used for writing, why not do the same thing when you're writing your speech? And in speech, you have to determine what is the appropriate level for the audience you're speaking to. And I believe you have to go a lot lower if you want to, like I said before, one of the ultimate questions is, are you smarter or are you going to make your audience smarter? And if you want to make your audience smarter, then you're going to have to go much lower. So let's take an example that you're giving a speech, and typically on Coursera, most of the people that I've noticed are college graduates, and some of them are actually more. But let's say the average is college graduates. That's what I've gathered. And I'm assuming these are all native English speakers. So I would try to develop let's say if I was giving a formal informative speech or even a persuasive speech, once I have developed it, I would put it into this Flesch-Kincaid Readability score, which is available, by the way, in your Office package if you have it, or if not, they're freely available on the internet. You can just do a search, Flesch, F-I-L-E-S-C-H. Kincaid it's dash K-I-N-C-A-I-D, and you'll find it. And there are these things you can just cut and paste it, and it'll tell you the grade level. So definitely use that. And let's say I was doing an informative speech most of the people are college graduates. So that means you're looking at 12 is high school here in America, plus 4, so that's 16, okay? So I would try to go at least 8 or 9 levels. Well, let's say 8 or 9 would be written material. Then I would also go below that. So I would try to get it between 5th and 6th grade level. So I know for sure that when I am speaking, it will pretty much be understandable. Now, I'm not saying that just because I brought it down to 5 or 6, that people will agree with me or it's logical, but at least the sentences and the words that I'm using should not be anything that these people have never heard of. Okay, it should be all familiar. It should be all easy to process. So that's a technique that I think you can use when you're working on a speech, and you should be using that, because the purpose of communication is so that the other people, whether it's individual or audience, understand what you're saying, and then they can determine whether they agree with you or not. So I think this is a pretty effective tool, and I would like to get Julie's take on it, what she thinks of it.
Jay, thank you. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. What I'm calling is level set your readability using the Flesch-Kincaid. And several years ago, I found out that the average grade level of the country, because we are a country of immigrants and not everybody complete the grade, is 8th grade. So it was very interesting that you said the newspaper writes at the 8th grade level. I have never used the Flesch-Kincaid card, but I think it's a great idea. And so I'm going to do it. And the other point I got from you is that writing is at a certain level, maybe 7th, 8th grade level, but the speaking may be at a lower level, because people don't have time to go back and revisit your message. So you have to make sure that the message is received the first way around, the first round. So that means perhaps lowering the readability, in this case understandability, to a lower level. I think that's a great idea. I have no idea where my speech levels are, so I'm going to go back and look at it. So thank you.
Yeah. Have you ever done it for anything that you have written?
No.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Most of my writing was technical stuff, right? Technical design, database and systems design stuff. And since I've started writing my own stuff, whether it's poetry or essay, I never thought to check it, but I'm going to check it now.
Right, right. So one of the things that I think I might have mentioned this to you in the past, that I use this tool called Grammarly. It's not a free tool, you have to pay for it, but it's a pretty good tool. And I take a lot of my blogs after I've written it and I cut and paste it into this tool, Grammarly. And then it gives you all kinds of suggestions, and it's pretty good actually. And one of the ones that I used to commonly get was that my sentences were too long. I think wordiness, that's the one it always gave me. Like it will underline it saying, this is too wordy, break it up, break it up. So it kind of helped me develop a habit to think in terms of writing shorter sentences. And when I first started using it, it just used to drive me crazy, saying like, why is it telling me it's wordiness? I can understand it. And then it occurred to me that it's looking at it more from an audience point of view, this tool. And now it's just almost, like I said, most of I don't get the wordiness that often. Sometimes it gives it to you because if you have like a lot of semicolons, then it'll still say wordiness, but sometimes you have to use your own judgment and saying, okay, I think this one I'm going to ignore, and you can do that too. But it got me to think that if a lot of people out there are not using a tool like this, that a lot of their sentences are just too long and they just cannot be processed. It's almost like reading Jane Austen or something like that, right? Where the sentences could be really long and you have to keep reading it again and again before it starts making sense. Now, for a book, it's okay, but when you're speaking and you're not thinking in terms of shorter sentences, then it could be very difficult to process what somebody's saying. So I can't say that I've been a big user of this yet, but I definitely, now that I've gone on the record, I'm going to start using this. And like I said, that a lot of the speeches that I've been recording have been short speeches. And the thing that I've done as I've gotten a little better at it is I just use a brief outline that I put on my whiteboard here. And that's enough for me to work off. But if I was giving a formal speech that I'm recording, like on a particular topic, then I would definitely find this tool useful. So anyway, let me know what you think, people who are watching this, and see if this is something that you've tried or if there are any other tools that you're using that you think we should know about. Okay, so at this point, I'll close out this segment, and then we'll come back. Julie and I will talk about some of the next, start planning for the next episode. Okay, so this is the time where we start something but not finish it. So one of the things I think, Julie, you're working on is that poetry part, right? So how's that coming along?
Yeah, I actually use that as a practice with my study buddy on impromptu speech. So I should be ready next week to present something.
Right. So do you think I should do a topic on what I just mentioned kind of on a fly with Atul on that ultimate question when it comes to speaking? Do you think that's worth a topic to discuss?
I think that's a great one. The other one I think that's really good is you already have a video on, but you didn't discuss it, is how to prepare for a conversation with someone you don't know. Because you can do research. I'm thinking that's particularly useful in two areas. One is in a job interview. So if you know who you're going to be interviewing with, if you could do a Google search or Google stalk on that person, and apply it, if you want to redo it using a job interview situation, that would be really good. Or going to a party and there's someone you want to meet. Maybe it's a business function, but going to some kind of function and there's someone you want to meet, how would you structure the speech and prepare for it? I think those are the same themes, but two different examples are really good.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of touched upon that, but you're right that you think that there should be a separate show on somebody, like how to have a conversation with somebody that you already know a little bit about somebody. That's what you're saying, right?
Actually, you don't know. Like if like one of the critical skills for anybody, whether they're doing whether they have a job or they're entrepreneur, is going into a first interview, right? So the best way to do it is pretend you're looking for a job. I mean, you can either be a sales situation, but basically you're going to a meeting, you know who you're meeting with, and you want them to have a good opinion of you, and you want to get them interested in something.
Right. See, one of the things about conversation is, and a lot of times people who give tips on this, they completely miss it. They always tell people to ask questions to somebody else. And question is kind of tricky because a lot of people, let's face it, are not good at asking questions. And they may be asking a question that the other person may want to answer. Like some common question that a lot of people sometimes are uncomfortable answering is like, hey, what do you do? And that question is kind of tricky because you're not really asking them, what do you do? Are you just trying to measure them to see if you're, sometimes it could be as innocent as you're trying to make a conversation, right? Or other times it could be like at some event where you were trying to measure them, like, oh, am I better than you or not? Or it could be the third thing. I think we've had a discussion on this, on how you can help me, but you don't know exactly where that person is coming from. So questions can be tricky. I'm thinking that these are the kind of things you have to kind of just develop and feel, because everybody's different. And sometimes you may have to just share information and draw person in, like the great white shark in that movie Jaws, right? It was drawing the people in middle of the ocean, and
Right.
then go for the kill.
So I appreciate your segmenting into the problems with the question, but what I want to bring back to is that your idea of going like from open to close is a very useful technique and can really help people in their lives. If you want to talk about how to prepare for a job interview. Let's just keep it really simple. So first of all, for example, the steps could be, first of all, you Google them, find out what their interests are. Secondly, find a point of commonality. And thirdly, how would you segue from, how would you help them or be prepared to hear when they segue from small talk, which is open, to medium talk, which is maybe like warming up to who you are, and then third talk, the third level may be the big talk or the purpose talk or the surgery, which is the nature of the job. So those are like three pivots or three milestones. And if you could talk about how to pivot from one to the other in a specific job interview situation, I think that will help a lot of young people and older people who are job interviewing.
So why don't we do this? Next show, we just do it on those three topics: small talk, mid talk, and big talk. And what does that look like?
Well, I think you need a specific context, otherwise it becomes too abstract. So my whole point is, we already talked about small talk, medium talk. You don't have to publish the segment, I know. We already talked about that, but for you to say, take it and apply it to either a sales situation or a job interviewing situation, I think that's what's instrumental in helping people. Because there are people going out there looking for jobs every day, and there are people out there trying to make a sale every day.
Right.
So it's a numbers game. If you give them specific information that helps a lot of people, they're much more likely to use your tool than if you give them the idea and then they have to develop the tool themselves, right?
Right. So I completely agree with you, but here's the thing that I've noticed that we also need to be aware of, that the reason why, so let me just give you an example, and you're going to laugh at me, but this is honest to God, the truth. Okay, so on Wednesday, I remember I had to go take my son to this practice for somewhere. It was far away. It was somewhere in Point Pleasant, which is far away, about 45 minutes from where I live. So I couldn't come back and then pick him up because his practice lasts for 3 hours. So I ended up staying at a Dunkin' Donuts. And while I was there, and I was just reading a book, okay, there were these young women that came there and started talking. So there were these two women in front of me, and I was just reading my book and having a coffee, but they were talking loud. So after a while, I ended up listening to what they were saying.
Happens to the best of us.
I was like that man. I was like that. Either they thought I was some kind of a dirty old man or some kind of like invisible. I don't know what they thought, right? And they were talking.
This is really true. Because
they were talking about they almost pretended like I was just invisible, because they were talking about their love life. They're talking about their friendship with people. And they must have talked for an hour and a half. And during that time, the talk never went beyond small talk. It was all about their relationship, about their love life. And I was saying, talk about something else besides that.
And that's not small talk for women.
Well, I'm just saying, okay, this is what I'm saying. Because, I mean, that's the kind of talk you wouldn't have with somebody that but like if I was talking to people, I would, after a while, there wouldn't be that much small talk to do. I would move on to the next point. But my point is that conversation that I was like listening to, well, I wasn't listening to it, I had no choice, right? And it lasted for an hour and a half, and it was all about so and so. These were college women, okay? These were college women, so just so you know. And they were just talking about that, and then they left, and then there were these three women there. So I actually moved up one table because it was getting dark and there was no light. That's my excuse. So then there were these three women who were sitting there and talking. Same thing. They were talking about their boyfriends, about their relationships, etc. There never was a talk that ever moved from small talk, that I call from small talk to mid talk to big talk. It never occurred. So my point is that a lot of people are very fluent at doing small talk, but they cannot do the mid talk. And the big talk is very difficult, Julie, for some people, because they don't read a lot, they don't think a lot, and it's very hard to have a big talk with people. You and I are thinkers. We can have a big talk. You think about things. You can't have a big talk if you're not a thinker. So
okay, if I can just interject, my whole point is not whether small talk, big talk, or medium talk. Is so thank you for helping me clarify that. So my point is, in a job interview situation, there are three pivots. The first pivot is superficial talk, very non-contextual. The weather is nice. I like the color of the carpet, something like that. The second talk is bonding. The second stage is bonding. Is sharing something about each other. My son is going to soccer, and I really like this TV show. It's kind of like bonding, creating a relational bond. And the third level is talking about the purpose, whatever the purpose of that meeting is. So that is talking about the job. Okay? So someone like me who, let's say, 50 years ago, when I first started working, or 30 years, yeah, I started as a teenager, right? I don't know that when I go in and ask for a job, I need to kind of open up and say, hi, nice day, and then say, I'm looking for a waitress job, but I want to say, somehow show that I'm a nice person. I go to this high school nearby, that I'm a credible person, and then I talk about the job. So in an interview position, let's say I'm looking for my programmer job, the first level is, hi, nice to meet you. The weather's nice, the TV show was great. The second level is, yeah, I really like meditation and I teach meditation. What do you like? Oh, you really like soccer. That's great for body coordination. And then the third level is, well, Julie, this job is about blah, 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 blah. People who are starting to job interview, they don't understand those three transitions. They don't even recognize it. And they can get stuck on the bonding stage and start being friendly and being friends. You want to be friendly, but you don't want to be friends. So you want to make sure you don't share too much personal information, right?
Right. So this goes back to the research that I was talking about. It comes down to, like, most people think that when they go into a job interview, they need to be competent. And what the research that Harvard Business Review, I saw an article a while back, I think it was by Francisca Gino. She's a professor. And they mentioned that warmth, you lead with warmth. That's one of the problems that a lot of leaders have. They think that I'm competent. I don't need to lead with warmth. So what you're saying is lead with warmth and then move into the...
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, what are you saying?
I mean, that's a good point, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, in this event of job interview, there are three milestones or three target transition points. The first one is just connecting and engaging in general conversation, kind of like a handshake. The second one is getting to know you. That is maybe where you want to say start with warmth, but how you do it, I'm not even caring. I'm just creating the system. The third level is talking about the job. And then you take those three things and you can talk about attributes. So one of them may be warmth, another one may be the length of the discussion, and the third one may be the ultimate question in each milestone, and the fourth one may be things not to do in each of those 3 milestones. So they're like 3 steps. You got to take 3 steps to get to the house. So step 1, step 2, and step 3. You know it because you're in sales, and you know it. I know it because I've done job interviews so many times. I've interviewed people, but lots of people don't know how to do that. So you can talk about the 3 steps. You can talk about warmth, but the 3 steps are like the foundation stones that everything's built on, just like when you do a system design. So I want to focus on the components, and then you can bring other information into the components, because once you have the building blocks, you can build different things with it.
Right. So you want to work on that?
Did you just give it back to me?
since you said it so much better than I did, so I'm just saying that you took it much deeper than I was saying. So I think you got work to do there. So
well,
develop that.
I'm going to do the poetry one next week, so I don't want to do 2.
No. So this is something you can add on your to-do list. This is something that after the poetry you can work on this one and see how far you can develop it.
Okay, so you know what? This is a great idea. Instead of me, I'm proposing a change. Instead of our original discussion that I do 1 show of the month, let me just take a segment every week.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
okay.
That's good. Yeah, segment is actually better. So that way it eases off some of the load that I have to take. So that way you can come in. So you can take the middle segment. How about that?
Okay, I'll take the middle segment. So that way it eases off you, and it's not so much pressure on me to like.
Yeah, and after a while, people get tired of me talking also.
Okay, so I'll take the middle segment, and next week I will talk about poetry. And I might not be as well prepared as you like, but I'm going to do the best I can.
Well, we do our show on Wednesday, a quick 30 minutes, so that way you can kind of give me an idea. And that's like I said, you don't have to be perfect. We just have to complete the show. And I think we're getting close to 11:30. So I think that's it. Great. I think we got a lot of things we started, so now we have to start thinking more about it. So this is the idea that I was telling you. Start something at the end that gives you a lot of time to finish it. So now we can think about it. So that's a new hack that we're trying here. Starting, but not finishing.
Yeah, you could do a speech on that.
I think I did, didn't I? With the meeting thing, remember that? The work productivity?
I don't remember.
Yeah, there was a thing that somehow when I recorded it didn't work. I didn't process it, so I re-recorded it, and it was called the work productivity tip. I think you liked it. Okay, Julie, thanks a lot, and we'll just close it out. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.